What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord Dr. Professor Dark Joker here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are traditional fans with opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece Chapter 1175. So in this chapter, Sanji uses Diablo Jambi to destroy the thorns, trapping all their straw hats, so they're all freed. And then yeah, so and then basically then everyone sees like this giant shadow, which we know to be Loki. And so, all the giants ask Loki for help to they ask him to get the children somewhere. Loki's like, I don't care. And he tells everyone to get off his back. And so everyone sees cause basically Loki's like a giant, the biggest dragon in the world, and so there's no hostages. All the hostages are freed. That means all the warriors can go all out. Like everyone's shocked to see Loki in this dragon form, and then Somers tries to send his thorns after Somers is pissed that he can't enjoy seeing all of them getting killed, so he's pissed about that. So he tries to kill the parents, all that. He's like, oh well, if the kids are alive, well, that means he can still take them to a holy land. But he wants to use his storm powers to kill the parents, and so the kids give the first they say they're going to protect their parents, and Somers is like, crap. He's like, I don't care about the mission. Who should I kill first? Like Somers is freaking evil, and so he shoots the thorns at them. Then Zoro blocks him, deflects him. And Solars is like, wait, who did that? And Luffy's like, that's Zoro. Remember him. Then he does a Gum Gum Dawn Thor rifle attack on Somers and wrecks him. Where it looks like based on the visual, it's like he's broken into pieces. So yeah, I mean, it's like he's broken to pieces. I'm like, uh, is he dead? Did Luffy just kill him? Like, did Luffy just kill him? I mean, it's not based on a lot of stuff. It's not. There's no confirmation that he's dead, so he might still be alive. It could just be just a visual gag thing, associated with Luffy's ability. Now it could be something So if you remember Gildarts and Fairy Tail, his magic where he broke Natsu into different pieces, it could be something like that. Like that could be what's happening. And so I don't because basically he's definitely severely injured. And obviously with the regeneration, obviously it's a good chance where or not he's dead. I mean, but Luffy with his devil fruit and with his hockey, you know, I don't I don't think he's dead. I don't think Somers is dead. Honestly, I think if someone kills him, I think it's gonna be Emu. Basically for basically Emu will kill him for being a retard. Anyway, so all the giants see Luffy in his Gear 5 form, and they say he looks like Nika, and so he's called the Warrior of Liberation. And then everyone sees Loki in his giant form, and they say Nid Hogger. So which is a dragon from Norse mythology, very big dragon, associated with Ratatoskr. So Gabon remembers Jarul explained what the treasure of Elbaf is. Basically, it's a devil fruit, the dragon fruit, mythical type model, Nidhogger. So then basically, whoever eats it transforms to the largest dragon in the world, and the size of the dragon depends on who eats it. So if a human could get big if a human ate it, but then if a giant ate it, like a regular giant ate instead of a human, it gets even bigger. But then if an ancient giant ate it instead of a regular giant, it's like the biggest it could possibly be. And basically that like so the ancient giant could bring out the Delphrid's true potential. Basically, it can breathe the Nidhogger can breathe lightning, and basically if it gets so big, it can, like day feels like night if it flies over somewhere. And basically, so the and Darul explains that the Guardian Hammer Ragnar blocks attempts to eat it. And there's a legend about a warrior god who wielded a weapon called Ragnar, Iron Lightning, turned into Nidhogger to fight the sun god. So fought Nika, and Nidhogger had a ice squirrel companion known as Ratatosker. Ratatosker inhabited the his you know the warrior god's hammer to wait for its master to return, or at least according to the legend. And so Ragnar, after after centuries of guarding the Delphoid, has chosen Loki. And you see Loki does a Thorheim attack on those dream beasts or whatever, and Emu through Gunko sees it, and Emu says Nidhogger. So he's like, so Nidhogger, that's where you were. So it seems like and you see like Luffy and Ratatosker celebrating Loki's attack. So looks like a big fight against Emu's about to happen. And so Emu, like he is looking serious. Like so it looks like there's definitely a pass there. So let's go. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting. So there's some lore revealed, which hints some stuff that we're gonna get. Probably the two big flashbacks would be the ancient era with Nika and the Void Century with Joy Boy. Some interesting stuff's about to go down regarding like hey all the you know man it is gonna be insane. So we have obviously this giant dragon from Norse mythology associated with Elbaf. So I'm guessing if I had to guess, Nidhogger could have been the name of the warrior god, or maybe a name given to the dragon form. Who knows? Oh man, dude, the lore is gonna be insane. And which makes me question, what the heck is Frankie doing? Like, what kind of lore drops is Frankie about to drop when he finally comes back? Like he and Vegapunk, whatever. But yeah, I thought it was a really good chapter. Like, dude, holy frick, Sommers, like with basically his face breaking apart. If Luffy was able to bypass the regeneration while cutting Sommers' face in half, well, not cutting, but smashing it in half, yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be like Orochi. Orochi wasn't, even though he had his head cut off, he wasn't fully dead. He burned to death like later. And I don't know if Somers is dead. I mean, it's One Piece. Death does not happen a lot in present time. Usually, honestly, most deaths are generally in flashbacks outside of like Marineford. I mean, obviously, he talked about, taking Kaido's head. Granted, about everyone talked about taking Kaido's head, and yet his head never got cut off. Hmm. It was Orochi's head that got cut off. I mean, like, I don't think Somers is dead. I think he's really injured. He could be down for the count. Now he could die, and Emu could kill him. I would not be surprised if Emu kills Somers. I mean, Grant. I mean, also the only one who Luffy might have killed is Kaido, because we don't know what happened to Kaido or Big Mom. Like we don't. I mean, we know Kid has killed some people, or at least very likely has, or at least he's very willing to, and Law might have some point. But like Luffy, we don't. I mean, Luffy could have killed Kaido. We don't know if he's killed Somers. No one will complain about Somers being dead because he's a freaking prick. You know, I mean, dude, it is gonna be insane. Like what happened? It is gonna be insane. Like what happens next chapter? Like when we see like more, like I really like this, dude. The lore reveals so Nika had fought Nidhogger during the ancient era. Okay, what happened there? So honestly, I think the giants were like heavily involved in the ancient era. The giants were heavily involved. Like that seems to possibly been like when the peak of their like power. So that's gonna be very. So maybe that could explain why the Nika fought Nidhogger in the past. Maybe because since that was like the peak of the giants, like their power, maybe the giants were the oppressors back then, and the warrior liberation, find the oppressor. You know, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I thought this was a really good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Kagurabachi Chapter 113. So in this chapter, so it says February 18th, island randomly appeared in the waters near southeast Japan. And so basically there was a earthquake that happened, 34 hours before it. And so basically there was a material that could not be identified that was exposed on, Irishima, which is between the island and Honshu. Irishima is part of the Chiba prefecture. So the whatever material that was, it's very reactive to spirit energy, and basically there's some power that bursts out when spirit energy reacts with that ore. So it was designated as Japan's most valuable resource. And so 2 years after that, um, you have the Danseki, you know, samples inside this container, and basically that sample is can destroy an entire city if used right. And so basically, then and then there's like this sorcerer who basically is like there's like stitches in the middle of his head. And apparently, I guess he was a powerful sorcerer, but he was still heavily injured. And basically, I guess this sorcerer had gone to that island, to Irishima, and basically someone asked if he had the sorcerer had run into the government agents. Guy says no, and he says that basically someone's well, isn't Hiroshima uninhabited? He's like, no, there are people there, and basically it appears that like so whoever was there, that the government's having trouble getting the ore because of the people there, and they're sorcerers, but it seems like they're assassins there, sorcerer assassins there, sent by Shokoku, and so Shokoku is the island that randomly appeared, and, like out of nowhere. Like that's the name given to it, and the assassins were from there, were from Shokoku, and yeah, and basically, so the early assessments for the government that was some mutated seaweed, but basically, that source says it was an early assessment. The government hasn't released any information since then because they don't know anything about it. But then you see the sorcerers on a boat heading towards that island, and so there was a force field there, and so basically there's that's prevent anyone from crossing. No one knows what's beyond that, and basically that their mariners have investigated the area, have seen what looks like seen humanoids, and those are the assassins that he came across with, and someone asked why we name a different country? Why is it Shokoku? And so Sorcerer says that the force field around it is big enough to cover a bunch of cover like a couple of cities, and no one's been able to breach it in the 2 years it's been there. Basically, it's either like they have basically some powers beyond what they can do, and it has to do with the ore, like its reaction with spirit energy, and perhaps they have the Dotenseki and the civilization that knows how to use it well, like a very advanced civilization. And so if there are people there, and someone asks, and the guy asks, why did they have to send assassins? And probably the sorcerer believes that they suggest that they may not want Japan the to get the ore. And the guy asks, why are they hiding then? Sorcerer says maybe they're probably preparing for something, and they emerge from the ocean, so they probably have to get used to sunlight and train for battle on land. And they're probably he suggests they're maybe doing military exercises to prepare for war. And then you see, Togo Shiba appears is like asking if they're done talking, and everyone's like, "Who are you?" And so you see a bunch of security put their weapons around, and he just effortlessly defeats them. Like starts, a bunch of them start burning to death, and then the guy recognizes him as Shiba, the sorcerer. Yeah, and then he calls him the Soga clan's guardian, and he says he's the government's dog, as he refers to. And then yeah, so this another guy comes in named Mashiro, and And basically, Mashiro asks what she was doing. Shiva says he stepped out the guy's neck and he's burning him. And he said, Mashiro says we don't want him dead, we want him alive. And so, and then Shiva says he was on the right. He was already anticipating there was going to be a war with Shokoku. And then basically, Shiva thinks, it's been 2 years. There have been various skirmishes over the ore on Irishima, and basically there's a bunch of diversion. It's more just diversionary stuff rather than actual full-on fighting. So basically, they're currently just preventing them from mining the ore for now, and that Shiba says that their job, he and Monster's job, is prevent a war from happening, since that's worst case scenario. And that with Shokoku and the Dot and Seki appearing simultaneously, there's obviously a connection between them. Shiba says, they gotta understand the ore. Yeah. And then, someone calls him asking if the mission's done. He said, like, Shiba says yes, and he asks whoever, like, what about where else to return? And someone said didn't go through. And then basically, whoever he was talking to said, someone's too young, that they're dealing, basically, it's a weapons dealer who doesn't really answer, I guess, calls a lot. And I guess the guy's 1 year older than Shiba. And whoever says they don't want sense information, they don't want to entrust the most valuable resource, Japan's most valuable resource, to basically a low life weapons dealer. And basically they've hired other swordsmiths as consultants, and she was thinking no one's on that guy's level, and that scientists are researching the ore. And basically it's been 2 years, but then they've gotten nowhere. And the guy's like, yeah, that's how challenging material is. And then Shiva says he's gonna make a quick stop, then he's gonna head back. And the guy and whoever's was like, wait, where exactly are you? Like, and then she and Masha was like, quick stop, and she was just smiling. He's like, Shiva says he's taking the dots to show him, and then um we see it says next it says Say They War arc. So the next arc is it's revealed this is a flashback to the Say They War. And then so it looks like a young Chihiro, but it's actually Kunishige, who looks like Chihiro. So Chihiro's like the Spain image of Kunishige. So this is a flashback arc. So I don't know if this is going to be quote part two of the of like Kagurabachi. If this is necessarily part two, or if this is just a flashback interlude, like what Naruto did, because that's how Naruto did. That Kakashi flashback arc. So yeah, this is a flashback arc. Holy crap! I did not expect that. But yeah, so we're getting the Sede War. We're getting a full on flashback with that. That's gonna be freaking insane. But yeah, I thought this was a really good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi Chapter 82. So in this chapter, Kiyoshi's awake. He's fully recovered, so like fully recovered to where he was previously. So he can actually use his full power as long as he wants. So there's nothing really holding him back. So and he's planning on going to where Bobo's at. Everyone's happy to see him awake, and alive. And yeah, so and he can sense how the battles are going, so he's going to go to Bobo because he senses how powerful Bobo is. So he's going to go fight him. And you see, Hitsugi find Gaga. Gaga doesn't take, Hitsugi's attacks seriously. So, yeah. He's like, I have enough water powers. I don't need to copy yours. And, he's like taunting Hitsugi, basically calling him Four Eyes. And, like, basically, yeah. Yeah, and then, so basically, Naga's just taunting Hitsugi, and you see him find, he uses his exorcist powers. He calls Gaga just a second-rate copycat, and then yeah, and then basically so Gaga had used Oni fire to melt the ice while still inside it. Hitsuki says, sure, basically like when water is heated, it turns to steam expands its volume, and it says when you rapidly heat holy ice while sealed inside, basically causes an explosion. And Nagazumu says, he'd probably be a good science teacher, better science teacher than Exorcist. So, obviously, he's scuffed up, but like not much. And then, he shoots black lightning at Hitsugi, and basically like so he's attacking him, and then like Naga taunts him, saying, yeah, you're just going off of Kiyoshi's coattails, and and you see, while that fight's going on, Tosuka is concerned about Hitsuki and Shuden. Kiyoshi says, if Hitsuki's there, they'll be fine. And so it looks like it's hinting at the next stage of the fight. So probably it's implying Hitsuki's gonna beat Gaga. That's what it's hinting at. So that's gonna be interesting. So yeah, I thought it was a really good chapter. Like the fights, like the Exorcist abilities. So I think the Hitsuki versus Gaga fight's gonna be really good. So yeah, I like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Let's do the Witch chapter 72. So in this chapter, Chrono Weaver has his last words with Minnie, and he names the kid Madoka, which in ancient language means wish. And then basically they have their last two of them have their last words. So Chrono Weaver says that he's existed for centuries. The time he spent with Minnie, he considers that his life. And so he thinks, basically he thanks Minnie for allowing him to love her. Yeah. And Minnie says that she and the baby love him too. Then Crow Weaver dies, and obviously everyone's crying over it. You have everyone mourns Crow Weaver's death. Kiyoshi's just trying to process it because he's definitely very sad about his you know friend being dead. He's like, it's my fault. Then he's like, but he was weak, so is it his fault? And he's like, no weaklings worthy of me. He's trying to process it, and after all, he's like, he wishes he was dead. Then Hitsugi stabs him. His weapon says, he's like, your wish is my command. And he says that Kiyoshi's or Octobom's no longer necessary. And he says it's obvious that Octobom's lost the will to kill humans. And he says that, Kiyoshi will be acquired before he knows it. And he doesn't want, like, Kiyoshi to be a weapon used against, like, World Hater. And then, and so he does, like, his attack on Kiyoshi, and I don't know if Kiyoshi is dead or if he's just really close to it. But then you see a portal appears and all these zombies are there, and you see Death's appear stabbing Hitsuki in the face, saying, "Good work." Like Death's is pissed. She is pissed. Guess about the zombie of her brother. So that's going to be a interesting discussion. We'll see how that goes. So is Kizashi dead? Is he not? What will happen? Like that, I'm interested to see how that goes. So because obviously they were saying him being acquired by Ichi. So if he's acquired, we could see like it's kind of like a redemption type thing for Kizashi, and like basically like him being a powerful ally. Like that's gonna be very interesting. So yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Spy Family, chapter 129. So in this chapter, so you have the hostage situation going on. Everyone, people are reacting like, uh, wait, yours there. Uh, and so people like, everyone's like, what's going on? And you have, it's not part of the show. They have actual guns. And so, guess guys in charge like we're not gonna hurt anyone as long as you behave. We just want to show Estonia how things should be. And everyone's assuming that it's gonna be a political point. That it's something about politics. So yeah, it's like yeah, we take over the broadcast station. Don't call TV. And they're like, yeah, we're not gonna hear criticize any political system. We're not gonna demand anything in the nation. How everybody's like, but if you interfere, there will be merciless retribution. And basically, the guy in charge gives the producer list of names, asks for the people whose names are on the list to be brought there, and it's like you have an hour, and then we'll talk about why they're there. And so everyone's thinking about what to do, like how they can handle it, but they're concerned about exposing you know exposing each other, like exposing themselves to the other two. So you have Lloyd thing, and you have Lloyd disappearing, impersonating like the terrorist leader, and then you have Yuri saying with the gun saying that's not your leader. It's like he reveals the guy's Twilight. He said, or he's like, or I should call you Lloyd Forger after you suspiciously disappeared from the studio. And yeah, the answer that's revealed to be Lloyd's thinking of a scenario of when David disappears, and and so like it's so funny. And then you have your like start killing people involved, like trying to avoid the staff, avoiding spied by anyone, by the staff, the audience, by cameras or anything, killing everyone, and like Lloyd thinking, saying he wants a divorce because of how violent she is, and Yuri's like he thought it was cool, and Yuri say, oh yeah, that's just something she picked up when she's like, that's what I picked up when I was a ceiling washer. But that turns out to be another thought, like another like it was her thinking the whole like a scenario, and so when Lloyd was thinking, your thought that Lloyd was scared, and when Yor was thinking stuff, Lloyd assumed that Yor was scared, since as far as each of them are concerned, they're both just regular civilians. And then Yuri, leaving, basically trying to draw people away, getting shot at. Yor runs after him. One of them shoots back. Yor dodges and shoots two hairs off her head. Yuri gets pissed off. It's like, you just murdered two hairs on my sister's head. And he starts going violent and killing people. And like he dies. But that turns me another thought. And he has to, he's like, no, I have to remember what Chloe said. That if he dies, he's like, yeah, if I die, no one's going to protect Yor. So everyone's like, crap, we can't do anything with the other two around. And then Lloyd and Yuri both raise their hands saying they need to use the restroom. And Terry's like, all right, that's fine. No more two people at once. And they're like, crap, we can't. They can't find an opening with the other one present. I kind of wish we had a panel of them in the bathroom just seething at each other while like taking a piss or something. You know, for their cover. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen. That would be freaking funny. And yeah, so and then basically you're thinking she can like do something, while they're in the bathroom, but then they come back quick because they don't want to do anything. And George stood up and I was like, "What? Do you need to use the bathroom?" He's like, "Yeah." Then Yuri's concerned about Yor going by herself, and she's like, he's like, "I still need to go." And the guy's like, "What? Didn't you just go?" And he's like, "I've had trouble clearing my bladder lately." And the guy's like, "Oh, okay." And everyone's trying to figure out what to do. They're like, "Yeah, none of them can make a move." And then you have name so then looks like people have arrived. So you have so someone named Russell and someone named Martin have arrived. And he says someone named Joanna is in Hungary, so can't get here. And so he's like, all right. And Lloyd recognizes the names Russell and Martin. And so apparently the Minister of Broadcasting sent people on the list without consulting the SSS because his mistress is one of the hostages. And they said prepare for an infiltration. If they kill hostages or do an uprising, they'll need to kill them all in order to preserve like public order, and that they'll make the minister listen to reason. And they said nothing. We don't want to broadcast anything to viewers that suggest they're acting out of panic, and basically it must be handled as if they, you know, thought of every possible outcome. Then you see a bunch of people arrive. You have Russell, Martin, Christopher. I guess some people who play Proto and Kachan, where I guess characters in the show. Basically, it's cast members from the show. He's like now we're gonna start. And he says now, and someone asks what they're planning to do. He says, oh, it's for a shoot. And so it says it's a reshoot of 5-year plan. Everyone's like, what? So yeah, I don't know what the reason is. If it's something like the ending sucked or something, they want to make a better ending, and they're going by hostages to do that. So yeah, that obviously happened. So I don't know how this is going to be. Is this going to be like a joke about like, when some fans of a series or felt like do take things too far? So, I mean, look, you have those people that take things too far. Unfortunately, it happens. That's actually a very small percentage. Like where it's they because they like something, whereas because they hate something. It's a very small percentage. You have people that take these too far. Like, I mean, like it's a very small percentage. Like, because obviously you had, obviously people think of Star Wars with some things. Yeah, I will straight up say most of the I would say the sequel trilogy for Star Wars is trash. Disney Star Wars is predominantly trash. Most Star Wars fans agree with that. And whatever criticisms the media has of the uh, fans really, for the most part, did not go too far. You may have had a select few here and there. I could not name any names of any fans that went too far. Like none of the YouTubers I watch, they didn't go too far as like a criticism of Star Wars. Like none of them went too far. They were all very valid criticisms. Same with Marvel, DC, because those two like comic book companies have been uh crap in the bed. Game of Thrones season 8, uh, live action Cowboy Bebop, The Witcher, plenty of other franchises that have been messed with. Star Trek. I mean, gosh, Starfleet Academy is freaking awful. Dear gosh, The Acolyte, where you could, you know, so many bad stuff. Are there a few like people who criticize the garbage that go too far? Yeah, there's a few. Very small percent, like very, very small. Smaller than anyone the media is willing to admit. The media is not willing to admit how small that percentage is. And it's like, the criticism with, the live action One Piece. I'm looking for a season 2. There's criticism I have of it, of the live action. I thought it was decent. The manga and the anime blow it out of the water easily. There's plenty of criticism, and the criticisms are valid. Like the criticisms I've seen for the live action One Piece are pretty valid for the most part. Like from people who are like, I mean, yeah, of course you have, those are like, yeah, it's anime stuff, looks too goofy. That's whatever. That's a taste thing. That's whatever. But as far as ones who like are fans of like, genre that, anime stuff like that, or at least willing to watch anime type stuff, you know, criticisms they have, pretty valid. They like, they're like, yeah, list small things, list some criticisms regarding like maybe some casting stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, what, yeah. I mean, it gets very valid criticism. Now, I don't know what the criticisms that it's. I think this is going to be like, they hate how like what 5 Year Love Plan ended. They hate how it ended. I mean, yes, because some shows have an issue with sticking the landing. It happens. Stranger Things, Game of Thrones. I mean, I think George R. R. Martin deserves as much blame for that as Weiss and Benioff do. Weiss and Benioff deserve a lot of blame for how bad Game of Thrones season 8 was. And Ryan Condell deserves blame for some of the issues with House of the Dragon right now. But George R. R. Martin deserves a lot of blame for not finishing his book. That fat, lazy prick. And Attack on Titan, the ending sucked. Like, I mean, really, like, and Mass Effect 3. Attack on Titan, Mass Effect 3, where everything before the very end is very good, but the very end sucks. I mean, you have something. I mean, some people have criticisms for the ending of Naruto. I personally liked Naruto, how it ended. I mean, yeah, you could say Kaguya was shoehorned in randomly at the end. There wasn't a lot good enough setup for it. That's fair. I agree. They probably could have set up Kaguya better. Actually, shown the Sage of the Six Paths flashback during the conversation while Naruto and Sasuke were passed out. Like, you know, basically, then yeah. And so I thought this was a overall a good chapter, decent chapter. I'm looking forward to see how it happens, how this goes. I think there's because obviously the whole you're actually developing feelings for Lloyd. I think this is kind of like a culmination of that. I've seen some people theorize of that. I kind of agree with Anya's asking, if the camera's going to show Lloyd and Yor getting lovey-dovey on screen, and they're like, no, they're like firmly denying it. Yeah, I think that might have been foreshadowing that no, that is might be what's gonna happen. Like it's gonna be so freaking like I find I mean it's probably gonna be pretty funny. You have their reactions. Like it's gonna be funny because I mean they've never done it before. You have Yuri's reaction. You have on if on you have Becky's react because Becky's probably was watching it, and then you have all of yours coworkers, probably like Nightfall. Oh my gosh, if Nightfall's watching it, that her reaction will be freaking funny. Like, heck, Nightfall might just put on disguise and go there and start killing people out. Jealousy, like, like the handler, like dude, the handler if that does handlers could totally just mess with Lloyd about it. Like totally just makes some like guarantee she will roast Lloyd about that if that is what happens. And Anya, if she like cuts on the TV and sees it, she'll say something. And here's how Frankie would respond. He's like, Frankie'd be like, "Damn, Twilight." Like Frankie'd be like, "You lucky prick." But yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Freaking hilarious chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter 24. So in this chapter, you see the cursed spirits seem to be like cursed spirits are disappearing, and basically the way the visuals looks like it's almost like they're resting in peace instead of being exercised, as one character puts it. And so you have uh obviously like Yuka's like or she's like a lot like looks like she's alive right now. Sarugi's alive, and yeah, Dabura like basically usurping like the chief and like killing the guy and then like taking over on like the guest he becomes chief of Discount, and then he's like he's gonna give proper burial for Dura, tribes a hero, and then after that he says he's gonna quit being chief and he'll just do whatever. Everyone's like, wait, what? And so everyone's cheering. It looks like the tyranny in that place is free. So then you have the Sumerians talking with the humans. So cursed spirits contain souls with the same color as Kalians, and that's why Sumerians were confusing the two. So Remilians, whatever. Remilians won't confuse cursed spirits with Kalians, but there's a problem that they couldn't scatter the colors of cursed spirits, Kalians, Remilians separately. So any Kalians or Remilians that are born in the future will have different colored souls. So Kalians may not be able to recognize the Remilians as their own kind, and they may try to eat them. Everyone's like, wait, what? And it says, but they're like, there haven't been any confirmation of any Kalians breeding in the last century, and so, and they're wondering what to do with the remaining Kalians on the ship. Everyone's like, what have you done? And someone said, and the guy said, like, so that like, Cross and Maru should be interrogated for their crimes before they deal with, before they try to handle the Kalians. And one Jabaloma says, hey, they're gonna be living on Earth, so they should accept this as a change. And this other guy says, tells those two guys yelling at Maru and Cross to shut up. And he says, there's a lot I want to say, but just shut up for now. We got to deal with the Kalians first. And I was Maru being like, he wondering if he should take the Kalian, you know, kill the Kalians along with the cursed spirits. That if they're gonna eat their children, they can't maintain a relationship with the Kalians. And so he's like, if they have to eventually treat them as livestock, then might as well do it. But he says he couldn't do it. That's what the Kalians should be treated like wild animals who attack us from now on, and get rid of. And he says he wants their opinions. And then you have Yuji approaches Panda, and that's how it ends. So it's like Panda's smaller, smaller form. It's like kept somewhere. So yeah, it's like he's like a little small. So that's good, interesting. So let's see what Panda's doing. So he's still around. I mean, he's like a cursed object or whatever. So like honestly, it makes sense he'd still be around. So I'm interesting to see how to go see. I thought it was a decent chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Gonron Egg Chapter 17. So in this chapter, the Human Liberation Armies fight the Drakarks. And you have one of the commanders is fighting Reigoku. And you have two of the commanders fighting them, and then like so basically a lot of the members of Human Liberation Army, there's mowing down like different you know like different like Drakarks and just eating their hearts on the way, making them more powerful. Like they're just eating hearts and killing well after killing them. It's like what the like they're just going quick and and then like basically that's their strategy, increase their power while they're in the fight. So you see like how it's going on. It's like okay, this might backfire for however it happens. Their affects their biology. I mean, yeah. And so yeah, basically yeah, they're just gonna eat the hearts while they after while killing them. And yeah, gone wrong had you know his total amount of hearts he has is 107 now after killing 56 in the Bloodied Valley. And then you have a head appears, looks like it's the head of the commander who was fighting Reigoku. So like it's setting up a fight between Gonron and Oma versus Reigoku. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Basically, showing like the fights, basically brutally. They're just eating hearts while killing while in battle. Like, dang, what the frick? Is this freaking like they're like freaking Kirby eating enemies while fighting? Like, where are they? I mean, really, it's like it's freaking Kirby, except more violent. But yeah, I thought it was a decent chapter. Looking forward to the next one. The Mage Next Door, chapter 16. So in this chapter, um, so Divine Magus tells Osagawa Yobiko about all what she learned about Doroi, and then she tells like the three Doroi mages that she'll protect them from Doroi. You know, even if like Doroi tries to kill them. So basically, Doroi's goal is to get revenge on the humans. So basically, it's explained that the magic world and the human world they weren't separated. They were like more merged, and that led to a war. And so you had the Great War 500 years ago. And so basically, humans and mages fought each other, and it looks like it ended through it. The war ended through a reconciliation. So sounds like it was a draw. Like there wasn't like a victor. And so Divine Magus congratulates Yobiko for studying hard. And basically there are Divine Magus says there's a lot of people who still bear grudges because of it. Because and Droi especially because they're the central, I guess, nation leading the war. And so Droid's gathering gems to send, like it takes magic to send someone from the magic world to the human world, and the gems can create magic. Like and so basically they're trying to use the gems, the magic from, to send like thousands of mages from Droid to the human world, basically for a full out invasion. And so one of the central people involved, one of the leading figures in Droid's plan, is someone named Akiyomi Ine, who was the mage that killed Osagawa's parents. And then we see a flashback of Osagawa's father, Ryugen, who I guess who after the Great War had didn't want to go back to the magic world, so he stayed in the human world, and basically like he used magic to help people, and so he was living peacefully with the humans. And his dream was coexistence, and he called the it was like his friend Kanzaki, I guess, was divine magus now. It's implied, I guess, Osagawa's father was friends with the current divine magus, and so it basically he wants to humanity and mages to coexist. And then you say Ine appear asking why Osagawa's why that family is living with humans. Ine asks Ryugen if he's forgotten the pain of the war. Ryugen says he hasn't, but he's like the war happened 200 years ago. It's all in the past. And he's like the past. He's like humans. Like human. He's like humans forget things we remember because they only live a tenth of the time we do. And basically he says, hey, they may be different. Some humans may be different now, but children and grandchildren won't necessarily be like that. He says they're shallow. He says that humans started the war, and so he says mages have to repay them. Ryugen says that bearing grudges will only suffocate them, and he says he's going to prove that humans and mages can coexist. And basically says, when they do, when he does, and Ryugen says when he does, they can all live freer lives. And Ine says, if mages, say stuff like that, it'll be a bad example for everyone. So that leads to, Ine killing Osagawa's parents. And apparently, I guess, Osagawa and Divine Magus had thought that Ine was dead, but it turns out he's alive. And, Yoga says she'll stay by Osagawa's side. And then, basically, Osagawa says, what Ine's trying to do is something against his father's dream, and that's something he's got to stop. That he needs to stop personally. So yeah, so that's a big lore drop. So yeah, it looks like it's gonna be interesting. We'll see Osagawa fight Ine. That should be a cool fight. You know, however that power level is, we'll see. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting chapter. Interesting, we see some of like, okay, Osagawa did live in the human world for a period of time, and we see what happened. So that was interesting. Yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Kunon the Sorcerer can see episode 10. So in this episode, all the advanced like sorcerers, they have like everyone in the advanced class has to they can't live off like allowances from like from families from like the church in Reyes's case. Basically, they have to work for a living. They have to work in order to, pay any servants, living expenses. So, um, basically, Fudon's able to very quickly make a bunch of money by making the starting the business using his like water beds. So everyone likes to sleep on 'em. So you have a lot of the students and teachers pulling all nighters. So he makes a very successful business just letting people sleep on water beds, like for different amount of sessions. You have like 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever. And you have these three girls like are there. Basically, they do it, and they're there, but there are other reasons they're trying to get. It's implied they're trying to get with Kunon, and so Ray is just trying to figure out how to make money because she can't use her healing magic for profit due to whatever rules associated with the church. Like it's like blessing from God, something with her like passed down from family. Like, so yeah, basically she has to find what to do. So Kunon like you know so Reyes is asked to seek Kunon for advice about you know like for advice about how to make money. She didn't want to because Kunon flirts with her, and so Kunon then can't so he offers a way for her to like help with use her men to help with like some research, and make some magic items. So he gets these like holy seeds, and then yeah, and like so like like these like holy seeds, and so she's able to like purify some way to where like it grows and basically becomes a very valuable pill. They make very powerful, very valuable pills. And they get a bunch of money out of it. So it helps with the money issue. So yeah, he takes Reyes and her two servants who are maids and guards at the same time to to dinner, celebrating the deal. Since they made a deal with the local guild. The so the servants drink a bunch of wine. Like they drink a lot and like spend and Kunon's thinking, yeah, maybe he's like, yeah, maybe I should not say order whatever you want. And so basically, how Kuno came with the idea of using the water as bits because that was the spell that Zionli actually complimented. And the teacher's like, wait, Zionli said a compliment? And it's the teacher, it's like teacher's like, I grant you access to a second research lab, basically, so he could use it. He's like, sell this to teachers, like sell to teachers. Like, dude, that's so fun. Like the teachers are so everyone gets like a bunch of sleep within like a short period of time. Like, dude, like so that's definitely interesting. So yeah, I thought it was a that was an interesting episode. So it's funny. So Kunon, why he's flirting with Ray's, I don't know because he is engaged. I mean, he pays compliments when I mean some of it's just him being complimentary, some of it's just how he is. I mean, yeah, I thought it was freaking funny. Like now you have those three girls trying to get with Kunon. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, this doesn't just turn to a harem show. But yeah, I thought it was a decent episode. Looking forward to the next one. Hayatron isn't scary. Episode 8. So in this episode, Mobulo's been missing, and so she talks to mom's wife about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he goes missing sometimes when he gets very obsessed over something, so he'll be fine." So she did not mention the phone call that she had with whoever had Mob's phone with and so then so she gets a text from Mob saying for to meet him at at night in a playground. She goes there. She sees this kid there. The kid's calling his mother. And she remembered. So there was a conversation. So some kid was had his shoes on backwards. It's like, oh, it's fine like this, and like the kid's mom or their teacher was like trying to get the kid to do it right, and the kid's complaining, and so she's like, hey, if you do it, if you do it, hey, you want to show us how you put your shoes on? You've learned that you needed help before. How about you show us how you do it? And basically, the older lady had said that stuff putting shoes on backwards is a sign of being dead because I guess when people die, like stuff is reversed. And that comes like with the kid. So she notices that the kid and the kid's mother everything's reversed. So she realizes it's a ghost. She runs away, and she sees Mob. Then Mob's writing things in reverse, speaking in reverse, like the subtitles are even reversed. And so she's like thinking he's dead, but then like some guy appears, exorcises Mob. Basically, Mob was possessed because I guess with him being around the Ebisumori family clan a lot, uh, he had started attracting more ghosts. And so yeah, but basically then you know yeah and then like this is a so then so the guy's revealed to be Bob's master, so I guess his mentor when it comes to supernatural stuff. And he said, he shouldn't be, Bob shouldn't be hanging around messing with the Ebisu Mori clan a lot, and like she asks what's the deal with the clan. Guys like, did you really I was like, yeah, I was like, did you really get involved without not knowing who that clan is? So then, yeah. And so then later you have, kids are playing the playground in the sandbox. Everyone's trying to build mountains. Digging. These shows that and so one of the kids, one of the boys is trying to build a bigger. So Kaya had swatted at the mountain for some reason, and then the kid's like, "Hey, you just ruined it," and he tries to build it, and sees one guy. Everyone's complimenting this other kid's mountain for looking fun, having tell. So he starts trying to dig a tunnel, shove his hand through. Then he gets grabbed by a ghost, and everyone's like, "What? There's no one digging but you." Yeah. The kid starting to pull down. Kaya swats at the thing, at the go. So he's like, and he's like, huh, what was it? He's like, what's about imagination? Then he sees the bruise from the ghost grab him, and the kid's mother like yells, he's like, how did he get his bruise? They're like, we don't know. We're sorry. We should have watched him more. And which yes, keep an eye on the kids. Like these are like 5-year olds. Yeah, you gotta keep an eye on them. They're like, he's like, well, Kaya was there, but Kaya didn't do it. It was she beat up the ghost. And teacher like a ghost. That's something Kaya would say. And she's thinking about all the stuff like with the mob's mentor calling Kaya a monster, and like and she's concerned. She's like, Kaya's not a ghost, and she's like, well, of course we weren't saying that. And then you have there's like some later you have a Halloween thing going on, so it was like a you know parents take their kids do trick or treat. It's like a little local fall festival or whatever. It's not necessarily a trunk or treat thing. I don't think because I mean they're not handing candy out of their cars. But like you have the kids in costumes, even the teachers are in costumes, and so Kaya gets separated from her father while her father's talking with Chi, and she runs into some guy thinking it's her father. She's ends up not being. She's like, oh, did you communicate with her? Like she even grabs the guy's hand, but he's like, oh, are you talking to me? I'm sorry, I'm not your dad. Then Kaya keeps trying to find her father, but she keeps running back to the guy. Then the guy's like, you want to play, don't you? Like the guy then starts being really creepy. I was thinking, uh, either this guy's possessed or he's just a freaking creep. And Kai even tries to punch him, but since it's an actual person, not a ghost, her powers can't work on him. Then she's like, no, when I go home, when I go home. Then the kid's like, so a lot of the adults are thinking that he like that it's just a whiny child, Kai just being a whiny child around her father. But then Bob's master arrives saying, "Hey, what are you doing with my daughter?" And so, and then other adults are like, "Wait, that's not the girl's father." Like, oh, he's just a creep. And then the guy's like, What? She was running, she kept right following me. I'm thinking, oh, that's not a good excuse. You know, what? Like, dude, that is like I was like, I was like, that guy's lucky he ain't get beat up for that. Like he is lucky. He's lucky he's not on the not in the U.S. He would have gotten beat up for that for trying to kidnap a kid. And so it's like Mom's Master grabs Kaya. It looks like it's taking her to his father. So obviously he knows who Kaya is. He knows obviously looks like this guy so it's explained that Kaya is the eighth shrine maiden of the Ebisu Mori family. So I get and that's how Mob's master referred to Kaya. So obviously he's like, why did they release something like that? Obviously, like he knows more about what's going on with Kaya, probably even more than Kaya knows. So it seems there is some stuff going on with that clan. So yeah, I thought this was a good episode. It looks like we're about to get some lore drops with the Ibisumori family. Mob's master looks like he's about to be a major character. Probably he'll take Kaya back to her father or nearby to where she could go back to her father and basically oh, I'm sorry. So now Kaya may not be aware it's going on, but she's probably glad to be safe. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Oedo Fire Slayer: The Legend of Phoenix, episode 7. So in this episode puts a lot of focus on Gengo's past. So he was afraid of fire for a while because so like his father died in fire. Then when he was a firefighter, like he gets pushed his subordinates very hard, and they like abandoned him to they were trying to stop the fire from spreading, understandable. And then like he wanted to save his family, like his fiance's father was in was like inside the like a building, and he wanted to go in to save them. And they told him like, hey, you can't prioritize your relatives. You're not supposed to do it as a firefighter. And then he goes and he tries to save but his father-in-law, dies, and basically so that makes him afraid of fire, losing like his father, and then his father-in-law, his father-in-law he actually considered to be like a father figure, and so he quits being a firefighter. He tells his fiance he doesn't think they should get married because he doesn't think they be able to you know he'd be able to make money to take care of her. And I guess she still wants to marry. So it's like they do get married, and then in the present you have he's confronted by someone asking if he's Foxfire, like the arson. Basically, because like fire started around shortly after he got back into being a firefighter, and I guess he's a suspect. So yeah, we're definitely dealing with like a so obviously Foxfire is gonna be looks like a is the overarching villain for this. So we'll see who he really is eventually at some point. So yeah, I thought it was a decent episode. Interesting. The 3D set animation was used for the present. 2D animation was used for the flashback. From an animation standpoint, the flashback stuff looks so much better. Like the 2D animation looked a lot better than the 3D. Like a lot better. I don't know why they did just do 2D animation for the whole thing. Anyway, so I thought it was a decent episode. Looking forward to the next one. Hell's Paradise Season 2, Episode 8. So in this episode, um, so you have, you have like the fights go, so you have, Gontetsuse and Fuchi fighting Talfa. You have, you have Chobe and Toma fighting, Jufa. And then you see like, their like the backstory of those two, Tenzin. So basically when they were born, created, whatever, like, so they were basically raised together, like very closely together. And so when they get to after some training, after they get a little older, it's real that Rain's goal for him was to like get closer so that they would practice bow jujutsu with each other, you know basically have sex with each other, and like yeah, and they're like kind of meant to be kind of like two halves of one whole, and like so you know then like yeah, so then so Talfa and Jufa merge into one being, like this giant monster or whatever. And then so the four like their opponents, like the four they have to team up against, Gante Susai and Chobe don't really like each other too much. But then like basically, so then yeah, and so you see like where May was kind of like a mother figure for Jufa and Talfa in a sense, and then like, do you see the visuals for this fight were really good. Like dude, seeing the flashback. I thought it was a pretty good episode, but dude, it's freaking like so. Rien's is freaking evil. How like he manipulated her to like basically so like the so Jufa and Talfa, they're basically siblings, and Ren just forced them to like have sex with each other. I was like, what the frick? For the sake of research, like that is freaking evil. But yeah, and then you have looks like the new executors and ninja are there. They're seeing something, signs of what's going on. Looks like they're about to join the fight. So stuff's really about to pick up. But yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. You know, like the visuals, like the combat, you know, all the different talent abilities. Really like this episode. Looking forward to the next one. Under Doctor, Chapter 6. So in this chapter, so the previously mute assassin is now able to speak. So it's revealed by Haiji that basically what caused the assassin to mute is basically some past trauma. So he calls it psychogenic aphonia. So basically some trauma that froze the motor center. So he like basically forced some stiffened muscles to loosen up and allowed the set to voice like the pain. So you see the assassin remnants on his past. Basically his mother was murdered. He hadn't been able to speak since then. Basically, he'd been mute. He met the assassin, the former assassin, known as the Grim Reaper. And like, so you have the Grim Reaper teaching him martial arts, and he wants to make money to buy the town. Yeah, and and then yeah, basically it's revealed that the assassin had you know, had been doing his job in order to in order to pay illness for the Grim Reaper who's sick. Haiji says that tells the boss that both the assassin and the girl are leaving the game, and so Haiji gives money from his share to the assassin, and then like so they also Hai so so Haiji has both of them taken with him, and they all go to you know to to go so go see like the doctor, like so see like the so for Haiji to go see like the Grim Reaper. I mean, and then like yeah, so basically they see him, and so Grim Reaper's blind. Like he's blind. He has like a some health issue. He basically even Haiji says and so Grim Reaper calls to assassin Shuli, and he's Grim Reaper's happy to hear Shuli speak for the first time. He says he only wish he could see her. So and he said and Grimmer says he knows that he doesn't have long to live. And Haiji sees from his the light, so he's like, yeah, he doesn't have long. But the Grimmer asks Haiji if he can help him see, and Haiji agrees to help. So basically, Haiji so the Grim Reaper is able to see Shuli one last time, and then like it's shown that a few days later, like 7 days later, the Grim Reaper had died. So that seems to be the end of this arc. Now, whether or not Shuli's going to be a recurring character, who knows? Like where he's going to be an ally. Be interesting to see how that works. So yeah, so now the old mob boss might be a recurring antagonist. If he tries to seek revenge, who knows? And the little girl, who knows what happens to her? It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter, good way to end this fight. Given Haiji's personality, looking forward to the next one. Hinato's Magic, Chapter 5. So in this chapter, so basically mission is completed. So Kaminagi had basically states that she accepts Kinato, and basically, especially with her bio, the Muber, her katana, her and her katana be on the same wavelength. And she says, she'll probably be relying on his magic from now on. And basically, she knows she's acting weird. She's like blushing, and she's thinking about, the Knight's Chronicle. And then Kanto says, Kaminagi says, saying shows that she's a knight, and Kanto then says, this mission really showed me how inadequate I am. So I'll get stronger, strong enough so that I can at least stay at your side. And then, like, it turns out that's the line in the Knight's Chronicle that the knight says to the princess. It's like, so get stronger, strong enough so I can stay by your side. And Kaminagi's like, wait, do you read Knight's Chronicle? Kano says, no, I haven't read. I know the basic story. And Kaminagi's like, he said it all on his own. And so, all the villagers thank, Kaminagi and Kinato for saving the village. And Kaminagi's like, she's like, the only thing is I am your, and she's like, she remarked how she usually sees women as princesses, but now they look like regular women. And she's like, what the heck's going on? And and Kanzo says, yeah, you don't need to thank us. And he says he's glad that everyone's safe. And Kaminagi sees like Kanto's a knight, and like she's now like the princess, whatever. And so it's like how so she's now, I guess, into Kinato with him being the knight and her being the princess. And she's like, okay, time to read the series again. And so like different feelings. And she's wondering that maybe she's thinking maybe I did find the princess's feelings isn't that bad. And so, the two of them return to you know, they return to the guild hall, like where Line is, doing some exercises, I guess for train to be like for the front. I don't know how the hell's with being in front office, with running the desk, where. And so Kaminagi says that, yeah, she accepts him in the guild, and Jin basically says, "Oh yeah, congratulations." And Kamui says, "Yeah, she's like she says she accepts Kanto as her knight." And I was like, "What?" And she says that Kaminagi did need some special training to refine his knightly details down to his soul. And she recommends that he reads all 42 volumes by the end of the week. And she says that after that, he can worship her and treat her like a princess. And Leanne's like, "Is Kaminagi open a new door?" And I was like, "Okay, gods are getting long." And Kaminagi wants to consult with with Line about how to if how to act like a princess. And Line's like, time to start a girl squad. It's funny. Others are like, hey, congratulations for getting Kaminagi worked up. And Araga's like, girls' feelings are unpredictable. And Jian says that if Kaminagi said he was that Kanto wasn't worthy, then he would have just sent him on enough missions before she finally accepted him. Basically, because he never planned to have him kicked out. Turns out he already has his Gian has already has Kanto's next mission set up. And apparently, the other members are about to arrive. Then a bunch of so then you hear loud. It's very loud, other people arrive. So So you see some people arguing, and like that one guy, remember to go rise from the long mission, and then so this guy tells someone named Juno to get back. I guess Juno's like afraid, or whatever. And then you see all the people like, the guys like, hey, all right, guys, I told you not. How many times I told you not to get not to file here? Says you're gonna cause our. And he says, don't cause trouble for the neighbors or the Iron Fangs. And he says, or I'll kill you. And everyone's like is afraid. They're like Talius, so they're all for this guy Talius. I guess everyone's afraid of him. And basically, they're all trying to say who started it. And basically, he's telling them just get along there and trash duty. Everyone's like, yes, sir. And then Talius introduces himself. Basically, he was Jian's first apprentice. And then he tries to introduce Juna. And so Juna is like I guess is very cowardly, is a little shy. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, looks like another character is going to be a plot point of a shy person opening up. And Lee says that Kinato probably needs to work up his courage too. So that's funny. So yeah, I thought it was a funny chapter. That was a good chapter. Dude, Kaminagi's real turn to like trying to be like a knight. Now she's trying to be like a princess. That's freaking funny. I'm, given her outfit as an adventurer, I'm sure that's going to lead to different outfits being brought in, which happens for a lot of female characters in shonen manga and anime, where you have different outfits for characters, especially the women. I mean, that is very common. Like I mean, if you look at shonen, the characters with the most variety of outfits are the women for various reasons, and it's probably there's gonna be a more, I guess, girly outfit for Kaminagi probably coming up. Probably, who knows? It's gonna be funny see how it goes, how she goes into an adventure dressed like a princess. That will honestly be kind of hilarious. But yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Alien Headbutt Chapter 4. So in this chapter, Shirokiba fights that big alien, and so he's using his wrestling moves to fight. And then you see a brief flashback to like Kiba's a childhood. Yeah, when he was bullying, and then taught Tatsumi like protecting him from bullies. And now Tatsumi's remembering that, and seeing like Shirokiba fight, and like how basically it's like the tables have turned, and like who's protecting who. And Shirokiba runs away. Everyone thinks he's. But then, like, turns out he was just drawing the alien in for an attack. And so, yeah. So he's trying to throw the alien over, but the alien digs its nails in so it can't fall over. So then Tatsumi comes in to like use his knife wire to cut the nails, and then he throws the alien over. But kind of looks like he's falling too. Now, given his advanced strength, there's a good chance he'll be able to survive that. But it's also possible that the fight will continue on next week. Who knows what happens? Odds are Shirokiba's gonna survive. I mean, they're not gonna end it that early. But overall, I thought it was a really good chapter. Like the combat and stuff, the wrestling moves. Yeah, I still find the premise of using pro wrestling moves to beat up aliens is just freaking. That is a great premise. I kind of wish they bringing some wrestling tropes in more. But yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Looking for the next one.
Well, that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.